how we got better with our social skills.
Right.
Because I think it's one of the most important, I think it's honestly the most important aspect is to be interconnected with people.
Like learn that trait along the way. Like, okay, I don't know this person, but unless like I introduce myself and try to strike up a conversation, like I'm never gonna met with this person ever in my life.
If you do work at like a customer service or sales or even just interacting with people as a cashier,
Right.
eventually that's going to seep into you. Your environment is going to seep into you, like how you talk to people.
Yes.
And yeah, just the interaction without even being conscious of it.
And you approach a person and then you just like rambling about yourself, your achievements, what you do for a living, this, that, and this, and that instantly throws people off. Oh, this guy's full of himself. Why did he just approach me and he's trying to like upsell his talk?
It's the real world, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to learn to talk to strangers. You have to learn to talk to women. You have to learn to just talk to anyone because it's just the way of the world. Today, we're going to be talking about social skills for young men.
Very important.
So I'm gonna come off the bat and tell you like a little story, okay?
Okay.
About my high school, because today we're gonna be talking about social skills for young men,
Right.
because a lot of them don't have it, and I never used to either.
Yeah.
At least in my early 20s and even mid 20s. So in high school, long story short, in high school, I hung out with the jocks, and we were pretty popular. You know, as far as like the people that we knew, we hung out with the in crowd, quote unquote. And yeah, I mean, I was dating this like very attractive chick, and that's by association. You know, I'm sure I had no game, but she just knew that I hung out with, I just knew
of
the
course.
people to know.
Social proof, right?
Yeah, it's like status hierarchy when it comes down to high school. So here's what I was thinking about. The problem with that is that I was a very popular kid, and you know, I had the friends growing up. But I think towards that, I never really knew how to communicate with strangers, right? You were kind of thrown into it, and then you meet the people in your classroom, and you just get along, and that's just kind of how it starts. But growing up, going into the real world, you kind of don't know. Like, it's a different beast.
Of course.
It's a different world. It's the real world, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to learn to talk to strangers. You have to learn to talk to women. You have to learn to just talk to anyone because it's just the way of the world.
Yes.
The networking and all that. So that's what we're going to be going over today on our experiences on how we got better with our social skills.
Right.
Because I think it's one of the most important, I think it's honestly the most important aspect is to be interconnected with people. I think it's a very underrated thing that people don't think about. But since evolutionary, we are social creatures, it's like the most important skill,
Right.
at least in my opinion.
And the one big, massive tip right off the bat is that people love talking about themselves. So if you approach in a random setting, a bar, a park, a pool deck, whatever, and you approach a person and then you just like rambling about yourself, your achievements, what you do for a living, this, that, and this, and that instantly throws people off. Oh, this guy's full of himself. Why did he just approach me and he's trying to like upsell his talk? And that's like very, very kind of uncomfortable in certain situations as well for the strangers. But if you approach with a open body language and you ask them questions, and they love talk about themselves, especially girls, if you ask them the right questions, you can learn a lot of things about her, and at the same time you keep that mystery, like mysterious. Like girls love that, right? Like they don't want an open book. Like, let's be real. Like if you're open book, yeah, you can ask me anything, this, that, and they're like, oh, boring guy, next. But if you actually let her do the talking for like maybe 80% she does the talking, and you're asking 20% the right questions, that will take you so far in like dating, or it doesn't have to be dating, it doesn't have to be a romantic setting, whatever. In business setting, like that also gives the other party that you actually care about their lives and what they're going through. So it skyrockets. Like,
Yeah. I agree. The point of we always talk about the dating and attraction aspect of it for these, and we're always going to talk about it because it has so much to do with social skills. A lot of the social skills that I've learned, I was talking to my best friend about this the other day, and a lot of why I can elaborate and I've, at least the feedback that I get, why, I'm a good conversationalist. That's the feedback that I get. Okay. I'm not like, gloating over here, but they're like, oh yeah, you're really good at talking and all that. Is because when I talk to women one-on-one on dates, why? Because my style, at least, is you got to pay attention.
Of course.
You have to be in the present moment of things. And listen, I make them about them. I make it about them, right? And that's intentional. I want to know them. Yeah. It's not a strategy. Like, I guess you could say it's a strategy, but you want to know the person. That's just not going, that's just not referring to women.
Right.
It's referring to everyone.
Every
like you just said, everyone they do like to talk about themselves, but more importantly, they like to feel important, right? And that's that's what you're doing essentially when you're trying to find out about a person, right? They like to talk about themselves, and that's great, and because on the other side of that, I want to find out about them. Because you're trying to get information essentially when you're trying to communicate. Right. So everything that I've the conversations that we're having right now, and even the conversations I have with anyone, how I joke around with people, is, I think, due to that is because of like my dates. I'm present. I'll ask questions. I'll joke around with them. Right. I'll nag them a little bit. I'll tease them. And I think it just makes for a good, playful communication where you could get a lot of information out of them to even know if you want to associate with them.
I 100% agree. And if you're leading the conversation into the right direction, the conversation is going to flow, right? It's not going to be forced. Like, it's not going to be awkward pauses or like weird like questions or whatever. So if you're leading the both into the right flow, then she or he, like, different settings obviously, is gonna react properly, and it's just gonna flow like a boat going to a river, so that's how I see it.
You know what, I gotta give you kudos because I do like your communication style, because it's kind of like of course we're martial artists and I gotta bring it up, but it's kind of like a fighting
You complimented me? No way, dude.
That
doesn't seem real. That doesn't seem real.
Yeah, what is in this coffee? Because that's just not
that must sound like
uncharacteristic. Right. But anyway, it's kind of like communication is kind of like a fighting style. No communication for each individual is the same. So you, for instance, when I first met you, you came off very, I guess you could say very happy. I know that's like very trite and very, probably the wrong word to describe, but you did. You came off very bashful and very happy, and you were just very easy to be friends with. Right. Because honestly, when I'd go to the gym, right, you'd approach people first. I think that's what I was trying to get at. Interesting. Is that you'd approach people first and you'd say what's up to people. And I know that doesn't seem very hard to do, but to some people it is, right? Because I think people are threatened. They don't know, not that it's going to happen, but people are threatened that they're like, oh, I don't know how that person's going to react. Even though you give them a friendly gesture, they're probably thinking, oh, what's this person going to think of me? But I think that's a good default mode to go to, is that if you're just friendly and say it, you know what, start off saying hi. Be like, hey, what's up, man? Good morning.
Yeah. Open body language. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And that's what you tend to do very, very well. And you seem very you seem very approachable. You approach first, but you're very welcoming, I think, is a good description of, like, and that's consistent. Whenever I see you, sometimes I'll be tired and then you'll be like, what's up, man? I'll be like, oh my God, I'm not in the mood.
It's that guy again.
It's this fucking guy. Why is he so happy? But
rear naked choke him.
But yeah, for sure.
Yeah, dude, like I feel like that's the best way to approach things. Because honestly, like, I like to introduce myself and get to know the person better, and at the same time.
But okay, hold on.
Like, I don't give a fuck.
How did you
if
start?
the other person doesn't like me, then that's okay.
Yeah. How did you start that though? Like, take me back to how you became like that. Was it like from your family? Was it just because I don't know, you were a happy kid growing up? What, like, why? How are you so? I guess how are you so approachable, like in your demeanor, right? Or how do you approach with that playful attitude? Is it just innate in you?
No, it definitely wasn't. It's a learned trait. So in high school, like me and my parents, like we moved to a different city, like a smaller city than like I grew up in Istanbul. Like that's like LA and New York combined. Like it's a massive city, like 14 million people live there. And then we moved to like a smaller city, like a coastal town, which is also big, like almost 4 million population. But when I first moved out there, like I had zero friends, like I didn't know a single soul. And in a high school setting, and everyone knew each other, kind of like because it's a smaller city, like people hang out with people since kindergarten. So I did actually feel a bit alienated back then. And that forced me and become a single child too. Like I got no siblings growing up. So that actually like helped me break out of my shell a little bit like earlier than probably most individuals, because that's how you, like you always say, like we're social human beings, right? Like we have to socialize somehow. Even though like I love to spend time alone or whatever, I tend to go like learn that trait along the way. Like, okay, I don't know this person, but unless like I introduce myself and try to strike up a conversation, like I'm never gonna met with this person ever in my life. So that is a great question, by the way, and that is the backstory.
What's weird is that you had the balls to do it.
You have
right?
to.
Because people can think that, and all of a sudden they get two in their heads, and they're probably just they just make an identity for themselves. They say, "Oh, I'm an introvert," or "I'm not that social," or it's called social skills for a reason, because you can get the skills to be social.
Right.
You can learn that trait, but in a way, I kind of get it, because it is scary, especially if maybe your genomes are more prone to be to yourself. I mean, I know there's some natural extroverts out there, but there's a lot of people that are just shy, and they just don't know how to approach social situations. Right. And that's really what I mean, is that I guess you just have to do it. There it is again, that frame. I mean, I guess I hate saying that term over and over. Just do it. Just talk to people. But yes, this one is a must, because people are so important. We need each other. We're all interconnected.
100%.
And your network is your net worth. And that's just not talking about money.
Yeah.
That's just talking about friendships, man. Just simple bonding, connection experiences.
Right.
It could get you a job. It could land you a job. It could be advice, just mind-changing advice or life-changing advice.
Right.
Just by connecting with someone, man. Even just a stranger that you're talking to.
Like there's a distinction between like 7 p.m. friends and 3 a.m. friends, right? I do 100% believe in that. Like there are some friends that you can call at 7 p.m. to hang out, but those friends are not going to be there when you call them at 3 a.m. Hey, yo, I got a flat tire, or like someone break into my house, or there's a fire or whatever. And there's the 3 a.m. friends. And obviously like you're not going to be reaching that level overnight, but unless like you put yourself out there and get to know the other person better, you're never gonna be able to achieve that kind of friendship over the long run, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's also, I think, how it works with humans, okay? This was in Robert Cialdini's Psychology of Influence, is the reciprocation principle, which is you scratch your back, I'll scratch mine. Now, when I was younger, I used to think that it was like, wait, friends shouldn't have to do that for each other. Friends should just, do it because they like to do it. But that's how humans work.
Yeah.
It's almost you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I know we'd like to think that we're altruists, and we are. Like, we like to do nice things for people, but it's almost transactional based. Right? Here's the thing. That sounds icky. Like, it's like, wait, what are you going to do for me? And then I'll do it for you.
Right.
But it's almost the way of the world. If you can't, it's almost like saying that, okay, if I have no value to offer to you, what do we get out of this relationship?
What's in it for me?
Yeah, kind of. But then, it is. But then it's like, how can we reciprocate? How can we connect?
Right.
If you find no value in me that I can give to you, right? Because that is one of the biggest connectors. It's like, why? Because I'm just like a nice guy. Like,
Yeah.
you know, there's almost incentive out of every interaction.
Right.
That's why it's called skills, social skills.
Right.
That's one of the skills that you can learn. And I get it. Like people, including us, man, you know, and people that we come across, they are very, very nice people. But incentives do make the world go round.
Right.
And you can learn those, I guess, tactics and skills to be a better communicator and, again, to have better social skills.
Yeah. But like it's going to take time. And I do believe self-hypnosis is very much real. Like you said, like if you think that, oh, I'm shy, I'm introverted, I can't go, like scratch those ideas, you know, like the first thing that you wake up in the morning, hey, I'm going to meet with 3 strangers today. If I got rejected or the conversation might turn awkward, there's a very high chance that you're never going to see these people in your life. So when I go to a pool deck or whatever, like I dance, I drink a little bit, you know, like I like to have fun. And I see these people like looking at me, oh, this guy's having fun. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm having fun. I'm never going to see you again. Like, why would I be not have fun, you know? Like most people are in their head, like, what would others think? And that's a very bad spot to be in.
Yeah.
Like you're just here to have a vacation and you're thinking about random people like, oh, he danced so awkwardly. Like, who cares, dude? Like just have a drink, have fun, jump in the pool, you know, just.
Agreed. And that's from our last episode on the podcast, why people need, I'm not going to branch out into this. I know where this is going to lead to, but then into like alcohol, right? That's why people need alcohol for that liquid courage to socialize.
Yeah.
You know what though? Being an alcoholic, I don't disagree with that. That you're going to be always going to be an alcoholic. But being like, so using alcohol as a tool, I heard this from Chris Williamson, isn't necessarily a bad thing. Because I know I always talk about like, yeah, you know, alcohol, you'll get a hangover and all that. But if you truly are a social drinker, you could use it as a tool.
Right.
Because listen, man, the reason why I loved alcohol, because it was fun as shit.
Yeah. Bro,
you know what I mean? It was fun as shit. Like, I'm not trying to convince you to do it if you're an addict or anything. But I'm only being transparent. Right. Like, that's why I did it. That's why I'm alcoholic, because it was fun as shit. But anyway, if you can control it, and you know you can, okay? Again, not trying to influence you, but you can use that as a tool to be more social if you don't drink that often, because eventually that's going to offset.
Yes. You're
going to learn the behaviors of like being a person that's good at communication and just letting loose around people in a long enough time scale without alcohol.
Yeah.
Right? Like you'll just be used to saying hi to someone and speaking your mind. So that's what I heard from one of my favorite podcasters. He uses it because he's not a drinker, right? He quit alcohol for 1,000 days. And I guess when he got back into it, all his comment section was saying, oh, well, what? You're not like in the sober club. It's like, nah, like he doesn't have to be. He's not, he doesn't deem to have that problem of substance abuse. Right. So he just kind of quit to see how it was like, and then he got back on drinking socially. But yeah, he uses it as a tool to kind of communicate and like go to network functions to just kind of help him get through, you know, like I guess talking to people and manage his like social skills and emotions.
And I also believe that it depends on like what you do for a living or like how you grow up. So let's say if your first job is like a customer service job or like a sales gig or like some sort of like job that requires human interaction rather than just being a desk job, or like it can be like a mechanic or whatever that you don't actually have to engage with people, then that's gonna lower that skill level. But
yes.
if you gotta if you have to make sales, like if you actually like door-to-door salesman or whatever, maybe that's your first job and you become better at sales and just. Dude, sales is one of the best things because rejection becomes a part of your daily life. Like you're like,
you know something about
next
that.
One,
yeah.
Next one, and numbers game, right? At the end of the day, and obviously you're not gonna be best friends with every single person that you met throughout the day, but that's when it becomes that filter progress. Like, okay, I tried this, it didn't work, and on to the next one, you get better. Doesn't work. a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, and then next thing you know, you met with like-minded individuals that actually tries to level up, and you level up with them. So we always talk about like your circle, right? The 5 people you spend the most time with, you become average to that. So
yeah, and that's the occupation one is a great point where I was leading to, because that's a big part of my life growing up. So I've always been in the service industry, mostly for like, I started off like delivering food for like my ex-girlfriend that I had at that time in high school.
pizza boy.
Yeah, pretty much honestly.
30 minutes late.
Yeah, it's like, dude,
No tip
free
for you.
pizza.
Free pizza.
But yeah, and then I went to move into a restaurant. I knew someone there that were like, hey, you want to be a busser? It was at the Strip, actually. And I was like, okay. And dude, coming from high school, so back to my point, coming from high school to like,
The real world.
you're just in that ecosystem of pretty much being the jock and like
And
the
the
popular
nerds,
kid and all that stuff. I mean, it was automatic for you, right? To be surrounded with people. And I think that's why the school system's there.
Right.
It's just to be social, right? They stick you with all sorts of races, all sorts of not racist, races.
Races.
All sorts of people that come from different backgrounds.
Of course.
But
Socioeconomical.
yeah.
Of course.
But growing up, I didn't really process that. I thought it was just somewhere you just had to be, right? You go to school, going for a career.
Yeah.
And then when you get out of the real world, you have to go through interviews, learn to talk, learn to commute, work with other people, your colleagues now at the age of like 19, right? So anyway, when I got into busing, dude, I was like that kid that thought, yeah, like I'm too cool for this shit. Right. And but I had an insecurity issue. It was more of an internal insecurity issue where I just was scared or was insecure to talk to people. Just in general. I didn't want to look them in the eye. You know what I mean? My head would tilt down. Like my body language would be like, yeah, just just talking
you feel
down
kind
like
of
this.
ashamed of the service.
Yeah, but then I played it off like I was some gangster or something. Like I was too cool for people or hard for people. And then eventually when you hang around people long enough in that environment, which you brought up, like what occupation you're in, it's eventually going to force you to become social just for your occupation's sake, for your job's sake. So what you were saying was that if you wanted to get somewhere, it automatically puts you in that position, like a sales position or even a server's job, that it makes you talk to people, right? It makes you talk to people and you get more comfortable just talking to people.
Right.
Yeah.
And small talk, like it's actually very hard when you first start.
Yeah, of
When-
course.
when
Because you don't want to do it.
Yeah, you don't
You
want to do it.
yeah.
You're like, what is this conversation going to take me? But you never know what the next topic of discussion is going to be, right? You start small. You're like, how's your day going? What brought you to Vegas or whatever? Like ask some discovery questions. That's what they do in sales, right? You discover the prospect at first, and then you try to make them into the sale. So, you lure them in a little bit, and then you actually ask the right questions to make the sale.
Yeah. So going back to like how we started with the occupation. So I think that would be number one. So let's just say we're in our like 20s, right? 21, 22. You know what I notice when I go to like tropical smoothie, right?
Right.
I love my smoothies, like after a good workout. And I noticed that these kids, it's good because you could see how timid these kids are. It's probably their first job or, you could tell they don't want to be there. They probably got forced into getting a job, or they have to make a car payment respectfully enough.
Yeah.
But you could tell that their social skills, it's just,
Not there.
they're looking down. They're like, thanks. Or they say one word. And then obviously I know that. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Have a great day.
Right.
But yeah, start off with that. And eventually, and the thing is that you're not even conscious about those social skills when you're doing it, right? When you're working your first job, you're not thinking like, yeah, let me get good at being social
No,
skills. You're
you're
trying to
not.
pay the rent or you're trying to pay your car payment. Like I said.
The bare minimum, you're not looking at the
Yeah, you're not
improvements.
looking at social
Most
skills
definitely.
at all. You're just trying to get that paycheck. check.
Right.
But eventually, in a long enough time scale, if you do work at like a customer service or sales, or even just interacting with people as a cashier,
Right.
eventually that's gonna seep into you. Your environment is gonna seep into you, like how you talk to people.
Yes.
And yeah, just the interaction without even being conscious of it. And then you're gonna move up in levels.
Right.
And you're gonna find out how important it is eventually. So I think that would be tip number one. That's a good segue, because that'd be tip number one, is to try to find a job. Considering that, you know, like you could still get it being like a doctor, going through college and communicating with your fellow classmates,
Right.
and eventually your coworkers and all that. But yeah, I think customer service, sales would be a good start. Anything that has to do with you have to communicate with people, that would be a great start. Even if it's just, again, like a tropical smoothie job, that's respectable, right? You're doing your thing, you're paying the bills. But yeah, it's going to get you to interact with people, and it's going to make that interactions automatic.
Yeah,
You're
become
gonna be like,
like a
hey,
muscle
good, how are
memory.
you doing? Yeah, even if it's just a simple phrase of, hey, how are you doing? Well, that starts a conversation off.
Yes.
Right? And
Yeah.
then if that other person is like, oh, I'm doing good, man. Where are you from?
There you
That's
go.
it. That's all she wrote. Like, that's what you need to get good at conversation. And then you just kind of go from there.
It's like a delicate dance, you know, like the other party has to play ball, obviously, because it can't be a monologue that you actually like trying to like upsell or something like that. You know, you
Yeah.
got to be a bit more flowy with the conversation.
Yeah, and you'll learn that consciously or subconsciously. Like, you'll pick up on things. It'll be better if you're more intentional about it. But you'll get better at it even if you don't think about it. I mean, we're humans. Like, we talk.
Right.
That's what we do. So tip number 2, this is gonna come from just personally from me, and I just talked about this earlier, was if you're a single guy and if you're looking for someone to connect with, maybe your significant other, dating, I found is a really good avenue for that.
Yeah.
You're looking to like connect, and it's because initially, you know what it is? It's almost a job interview.
Yeah, of
right.
course,
You're trying
yeah.
to size each other out. You're kind of like, oh, is this a right fit for me? And it gets you in a position to where you're in a nerve-wracking situation, and you have to do it over and over and over. And to get what you want, whether it's a connection or whatever you want to do,
Right.
It gets you to sit there and have to figure it out, right? Through conversation.
Yeah.
So what I first started with, like, dating and stuff, I wanted to pretty much tell a girl what she wanted to hear, right?
You weren't being like real with yourself. Right?
You weren't real with yourself, but I promise you this is going to relate to like communication.
Of course, yeah.
And I had a lot of feedback from my friends. You know, you get heartbreaks along the way, and it's like, oh, this girl like just didn't call me. And then luckily, I say this now, I was hurt back then when she told me this.
Oh, yeah.
She said that you're too nice.
That's not a good spot.
Here's the thing about that. Okay, relating to communication, what she was really trying to say was you're too fake in your communication.
Yeah.
Right? I realized that over there. I took it as, I'm too nice, man. What do you mean? That's just how I am. But I wasn't being real in the way I communicate what I wanted to women. I wasn't expressing what I really internally wanted. And that's such a big thing.
Just
We
putting
should've
up
put
an
this-
act, right? You're just putting up an act.
Putting up an act, and this should be number 1, actually. You know,
Being kind is great. Being nice is bad.
yeah, just being authentic and being honest.
That's what
with
being kind is.
people. Yeah, being authentic and honest with people, not just with women, but just with people.
Yeah.
If you have something to say
Say
it. And listen, there's ways to go about that.
Yes.
You don't have to be like super forward. If that's who you are, go ahead, right? But there's ways to do that. But say what you mean what you say, and that just pretty much means, hey, look, state your opinions. Not if they don't like it, not everyone's going to be for you, but
Yes.
you believe in your values and principles, and you could communicate that properly
Right.
without like an attitude or anything, or just just be respectable in how you communicate. Then you could go a long way. The person we have this innate ability to realize if someone's bullshitting you. Humans are really good at that.
Right.
If you're not being honest, like they're gonna be like, "Oh, this guy just wants to sell me something," or the girl's gonna be like, "Oh, he just wants to like sleep with me," or the friend is like, "Oh, he just wants this thing out of me. He just wants like money out of me." Right? People are pretty good about when you bullshit them or you try to get them to do something, and sure, if you're trying to get someone to do something, be honest about it.
Yeah.
Just be like, look, man, I know, like, for instance, hey, can I borrow some money? I'm kind of broke. I'm going through hard times. I don't like, I don't like asking for this, but I really do need it. If you can come forward and be genuine, and just be forthcoming about it.
Right.
Dude,
people are going to respect you.
Yeah, people are going to respect you for that.
Course.
Even if they say no, they're going to be like, "Oh, dude, this guy's like really like
Right.
genuine." This
Right.
guy is a good dude. And that also relates to dating. It's kind of like, hey, even if she doesn't like you, you still get the interaction from them. That just made you better. You're a better communicator for it. And yeah, she's just gonna just out of being a human being, they're just gonna respect you a lot more.
And I do want to add a little bit of that when you said like you got principles, or like if you're dating a girl and you got like a spine that you say like, okay, we can meet Friday night, but I work Saturday early morning. And she's like, okay. She comes over, you guys have a good time. Next Saturday morning, and if she asks you, oh, don't go to work, or don't go, okay, let's skip that. It's not work. You have to go to a gym, right? On Saturday morning, you have to go to the gym, 9 a.m. sharp. But if she asks you, oh, don't go to the gym, just stay a bit longer with me, and you stay in the bed with her, you're going to instantly lose attraction because you break your promise and you lost your spine and you didn't keep your promise. And that's how attraction dies, dude. Like that's just facts.
All right. I mean, I guess that's communication. Yeah, I mean, that's communication. And
obviously, like, I don't want to branch out, but if a girl shit tests you, that's what this is all about, like shit testing. That's a great thing. If she doesn't shit test you, she doesn't give a fuck about you. But if she actually like try to test you, that's always a great sign. And the more tests that you pass, the better attraction is going to be like.
Gotcha.
Just hold the spine.
Gotcha. All right.
Stay to your beliefs.
So relating to communication, just be honest with what he's really trying to say was just be honest with a girl. Okay. Just be honest. I think that's where you were getting at.
Yeah.
The dating and attraction thing, the dating thing is just a means of communication. It's a communication style.
True.
Because, okay, so usually it's not really, when it comes to that, it's not really what you're communicating. It's what you're sub-communicating. It's what you're really trying to say. You're trying to say that you're an honest person. You're trying to say, listen, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And if you don't like it, it's fine. We could have disagreements, but I am who I am.
Right.
That's really what, when it comes to dating, or I guess when it comes to anything. Friendships and stuff like that. That's what you're really trying to say. Like if you're trying to talk to a friend about, say, if he's like fucking up, right? And if you want to talk to him, well, what you're really sub-communicating is like, look, man, I care about you, so you should probably do this. It's not so much like the advice that you're giving him.
You gotta do this.
It's not the advice that so much that you're giving him. It's more of like, hey, dude, like, again, I care about you, bro, and please get your life together. Yeah, get your act together, and other that. There's just forms of that communication.
Right.
So tip number 3, if you don't have any of those things growing up, like if you say work remotely, and if you just like say you didn't have like an avenue, right? You didn't go to any places where there weren't people around. Just say like if you were like a homebody,
right?
But if you really wanted to get your communication skills up, the good news is that, well, social skills, it's almost like if you go out, it's your gym.
Right.
There's people all around you, man.
Of course.
And you can practice that anywhere. You don't have to go anywhere in particular. Like if you go to the gym, you need those weights, right?
Right.
You don't have to do that. You could actually just go right outside.
And just try to strike up a conversation.
Yeah, if your neighbor's outside. And I know it's easier said than done, but here's tip number 3. Just say hi.
Yeah, that's it.
Just say hi.
Simple, yes. Easy, no.
Yeah.
At first, at least.
Right. But I think, see, the way our minds run is it just puts us in the worst position. Even just to say hi, you just say, oh my goodness, if I say hi, then they might say, fuck off.
Yeah.
Which
might happen too, but realistically,
Yeah.
really, right?
Yeah, just listen, just do what you got to do. I know I've said before that I'm not too fond of small talking, but do what you have to do, right? Like, just engage is pretty much what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Engage. However that is. Even if you're socially awkward, just say, man, it's freaking hot outside. Like, it's 118 outside, right? Just say, damn, it's freaking hot outside. I promise you they're going to say something, and then that's just going to lead to whatever. Whether it's small talk, it may or may not lead into, like, a connection or a conversation.
Right.
But you tried.
Yeah, you
You
tried.
attempted it,
Yeah.
right? That's a win within itself.
Hey, it takes courage to approach, and the more that you do it, the better you become. That is also a fact, and it's becoming harder and harder by day. I feel like, because we're too much like connected to our phones and the video games, and everyone's like doom scrolling. So we talk about like, what if we were in our early 20s or teenage years, but the teenagers now these days, they're different than our childhood at the same time, right? Like, I didn't grow up with this technology. Like, I remember like in elementary school or like middle school, whatever, like we didn't have smartphones or anything like that. We just go out, play soccer, football, get in dirt, roll around. That forced you to become more social, to actually like enjoy the present moment with your friends, whatever you want to call them. But right now they just go online, play Fortnite, whatever, and that breaks that in-person contact, I feel like.
Yeah, it makes it way harder for sure. It makes it way harder for sure. Sometimes I forget that I lived in that generation of where, I went outside and played basketball with my friends.
Right.
Or
And you didn't have smartphones. You just like,
Yeah.
Before the school is over, you're like, 6 p.m., basketball court, everyone's be there. And everyone actually showed up without like having like active communication.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Dude,
like, you know what?
are you kidding me?
It's kind of crazy now. Like, you just go out 6 p.m. and all the friends are there. I'm like, oh, cool. So,
yeah, I was knocking on my friend's door just randomly, like without even a phone call. And they do the same.
Yeah.
And then my dad would be like, what the fuck?
Who are these dudes?
It's like, get out of here, man. All right, yeah. But yeah,
I'm not buying.
yeah, sometimes I forget, being older, that we did have those advantages.
Right.
We did have those advantages of the way it was.
Yeah.
And yes, it does make, I don't want to be too insensitive to that. With technology, it makes it a lot easier. With social media,
Right.
you kind of get this fake social interaction almost.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, DM. It's like, what the fuck does that even mean? You know what I mean? I know it says message someone, but fuck, that's like texting someone back in the old days. That's not real interaction. Real interaction is even going face to face. That's why we made the studio, man. And that's why we have guests on, right?
Yeah,
it's just because you want to speak with them face to face. It's a lot different. It's a lot more different.
Over the phone and compared to in person.
Yeah, compared to even just text messages, man.
Yeah.
When one of my friends asked me to go out, listen, I love this girl. She's one of my best friends, but she texts me. I'm gonna call her, man. I don't have time for this shit.
Yeah.
I look at the text. I'm like, dude, okay, so where are we going?
Yeah, it's
what are we gonna
simple.
do? What time are we gonna meet?
That's it. That's it.
It's like not the back and forth, kind
Right.
of thing. Yeah, but it's just something that I wasn't used to. But yeah, I feel that everyone does want a real human interaction, no matter, regardless if they're online and if they think they're okay with that. I think they would prefer it.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, you're right. Like with technology, it just got, I guess, a lot easier, and that's what communication is nowadays. Is online.
Yeah,
It's
practically,
online.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it has benefits. Like, let's say you move to a different state or like move out of country, whatever, you still be able to communicate with your parents or friends, whatever. But at the same time, it doesn't have the same effect if it's in person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's probably the most, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the most important skill to have. Andrew Huberman talks about it all the time. That's one of his like 5 pillars. One of them, social skills, to keep you from feeling depressed. Yeah, just it goes a long way. Again, we're social human beings, and yeah, it's just something to be worked on. And we're still working on it. Part of the reason why we have this podcast is that, right?
Yeah.
It's getting me to be a better speaker, to be a better communicator
Yeah.
in my social skills.
I agree.
Yeah.
There's no other way to do it, right? Because you have to put yourself and go through that trial of fire, because you actually make yourself uncomfortable, and then that uncomfortable becomes more comfortable. Like fighting, right? The first time you fight, it's like adrenaline. There's a bunch of like emotions. There's a bunch of hormones that go into your body. But the more that you do it, the better you become, and that's just how things are.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, man. So I think that is good. So there's just a couple tips on how to be better at social skills. I know that it's not easy, but yeah, if you're just starting off again, try to find a job that gets you to be surrounded by just people and a part of your job description, pretty much.
Yeah.
That'd be a good way. And then you can always practice. I call it a social gym. When you go outside, you can say pretty much hi to everyone. It doesn't have to be that pretty girl that you want to talk to. You could just, when you're in a line at Starbucks, just say, hey, what's good over here? Or what are you getting? Like, I don't usually drink coffee. Yeah, it could be, just start with small talk, man. I know that we're not too fond of small talk, but that's because, we pay attention now to like our social skills.
Yeah.
Right? You kind of graduated from that. And it's almost like, when I talk to someone nowadays, this is a good tip too. Is that assume rapport.
Yeah.
Which means that act like you've been friends with someone for over like 15 years.
Yeah.
That's a good one because it automatically puts them in like a comfortable state.
Right.
I do that all the time, man. Like when I just meet someone, I'll be like, what are you cooking over there, man? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, like when I'm in the kitchen, at my job, I'll just be like, oh, what's cooking over there, man? It just automatically just
Small, simple things like that.
go right into it.
Right.
Go right into it. Yeah. That's a good, same with like a girl, right? If I'm standing in line at Starbucks, I'll be like, dude, I've seen those shoes before. Where'd you get them?
Yeah.
That's it, man.
That's
like,
a great segue to the next conversation.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. There's no, I personally don't like the, I know it's going against the advice, but I mean, do this if you have to, like introduce yourself, say hi. But then I personally don't like doing that just because listen, I communicate with people every day.
Pretty generic too. Like, hi, how are you? Good. How are you? Like, this is the most generic like conversation ever, right?
Exactly.
So, and people, I heard it before. But if you ask, hi, how are you? And if you say amazing or fantastic or something, maybe a better comeback than just good. Because good is such a boring word. Good is one of the most boring words out there, right?
Yeah. It's kind of what they call it was being a generous communicator, being a generous conversationalist is what they call it. So say if you ask like how I'm doing, or say if you ask like where I'm from, I'll be like, yeah, I was from San Diego, but originally I was born in the Philippines. I moved to San Diego so what I'm really doing is I'm giving you connectors to kind of relate. I'm giving you more and more information for you to kind of like converse back.
Yeah.
I really like that term. It's like a generous conversationalist is what they call it. So other than just saying good, when you ask me how I'm doing, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing well, but I got a flat tire this morning. It fucking sucked. You could be like, yeah.
And dude, I can't believe it that because
everyone gets a flat
80% of people had flat tires before.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that sucks, dude.
Yeah, it's like, damn, in this weather? Right? It's just, you go on. So other than just saying hi, give them something, give them ammo. Give them ammo, right? Give them give them the tools that they need to be able to speak with you and just have a more meaningful interaction.
And that's up to them to supply you with the same amount of ammo so it flows.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I think that's good.
Episode 18.
Yeah, so we went over the social skills, because again, it's one of the most, I think it's the most important tool, honestly,
Right.
for anything, business, dating, friendships. You have to, and within that communication, you have to, yeah, it'll just navigate you through the shitstorm that you have to deal with in life. You can get what you want out of being a good communicator.
Yes.
Yeah, and the benefits are just infinite. Yeah.
Just embrace rejection, get better at it, on to the next one. And there's only one way to go with communication skills, up. Unless like you don't practice it for years and years, obviously it's going to decay, but I feel like the more that you do it, the better you become.
All right, perfect, man. All right, man. Well, another one in the books.
Good episode.
All right. Cool, man.